people say, oh, I just want to be in London, I just want to be in London. London is obviously great for capital appreciation and the rest of it, but there's so much opportunities outside. You can get a 3-bed house for under 100k. That's in good condition, good to go. This isn't BRR, this isn't getting something run down. This is good to go, be tenanted by next week. No investment in property is passive, but the most passive you ever will.
You ultimately got to 11 properties. What did you kind of do to scale it up?
When we first started, it was more like just get properties that you can afford and just do the safe things, the vanilla buy-to-let. Just having buy-to-lets, that doesn't make you a property developer. The only way to do better at something you've been doing is to try something new and make your money work better for you. Let me not lie, it's absolutely not a walk in the park, and it is very scary. When people want to get into property, they have this notion of get rich quick scheme, and property is not. It's a long game, it's a marathon. You have to put the money in and let it work for you.
Buy-to-let, is that viable property strategy in 2025?
You're not defined by where you come from,
yeah.
And I think that's a big message that I always want to tell people. Like
you have to be able to be uncomfortable. Like be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
When you grow up in ends, you don't realise it when you're confident, but you have an audacity to do things that ordinarily most people wouldn't be willing to do.
Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Atto. We have a special guest in the building. We have Juliana, who's a property investor and developer with over 10 years experience in the property industry and has a property portfolio worth £2.1 million. Juliana, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, thank you, Atto. How are you?
I'm good. How's the day been? You know, life for a property investor. What's it been like?
Busy. It's been busy. Very, very busy. Even on the way here, I've been speaking to plumbers. I've got one of my tenants whose water pipe leaked last night. No, it was the last 2 nights. Wow. So I've been trying to get that fixed. So it's non-stop, but it's good. Yeah.
Gosh, and we're going to demystify a lot of this because, you know, a lot of people want to build wealth with property. And I think like your journey is such an exciting and inspirational journey. What you've kind of managed to really build is like exceptional. So obviously I described a little bit about you. Who would you say Juliana is?
Oh, who is Juliana? Okay, Juliana is a property investor and developer, and I'm going to also add property strategist. So that basically means I help people solve solutions and anything that they have issues with or need help with in their property journey. So if you're a first-time buyer, I help you get to that stage. I help you with brokers, solicitors, understanding where the right place to get your property is. If you're an investor, I help you to scale your portfolio and even look for properties for you. So I help whoever is there on their journey, depending on where they are in their journey.
Okay.
And apart from property, I'm also a mother of 3. I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm an auntie. Yeah, that's Juliana.
Okay, cool. All-rounder. All-rounder. Okay, so we want to talk a bit about your story, right? Okay. Can you take us back to the early days? What was your upbringing like, and how did it shape your views on money and success? Okay, so I grew up in Brixton, South London. Grew up there from the age of 0 to 18. I'm a product of council home. I didn't grow up with any money, if I'm going to be honest. I grew up very, very poor. We got evicted quite a few times. We lived hand to mouth. I was on free school meals. I got EMA in college. I didn't have a money mindset growing up. My parents didn't own any properties. I had never seen them own anything tangible. So my money mindset didn't come from my formative days, if I'm being honest. But I'm here now, so thank God. But I didn't come from any money, and I didn't come with any silver spoon or head start. I had to find it for myself because my parents were first generation immigrants from Nigeria. And a lot of, I think, culture that we were brought up in was keep things to yourself. Don't tell people anything about your background. Don't let people know if you're struggling. We didn't have any friends visit our house. It was just us. Okay. So when I say us, I mean me and my 4 siblings, mum and dad, but they weren't together. So again, that's another topic. But it wasn't a very stable upbringing, if I'm being honest. Okay. Yeah. Wow. So then what, I guess, if your money and success mindset wasn't shaped from like your upbringing, at what point was it like shaped for you? You know what? The funny thing is, I guess it was shaped from it because I was adamant that I didn't want that upbringing for my children. Okay. And whatever I experienced growing up, I did not want that to be part of my future. So we didn't have money. I wanted to make sure I had money. We didn't own a house. I wanted to make sure I had a house. My mum was on benefits for as far as I can remember. I was adamant I didn't want that to be my story. And again, this is not to blame them, because when you come here with a certain mindset, it's very hard to break out of it. You're in a foreign country. You don't know anyone from anyone. This is not your language. These are not your people. You want to keep to yourself. But in keeping to yourself, you pass things on to your children that may not necessarily be helpful for their future. So I had to break a lot of that, and that helped me not want to be where I came from.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I understand it. That's crazy. So so at what point did you kind of think, okay, property is the thing for me? Like, what prompted the move into property?
What? It's a really good question. I think for me, it was when I went to college. When I went to college and started getting a few more friends, and friends who looked like me, and I would visit their house and their parents owned their property. I was like, this isn't given to you by the government. People actually can own their own houses. I was absolutely bamboozled. I didn't understand how the government didn't provide you a house. And I thought that's how everyone got their houses. I didn't know that you can actually own it. So when I went to certain houses of friends who were Black, who were African, who literally looked like me, and parents looked like my parents, but they had a better lifestyle, I knew it was a possibility. And you know when they always say the saying of, you only know what you can do when you see someone who's done it before you? That was literally it. I literally saw with my own eyes people owning properties, and I was like, I have to get part of this game. I have to get into it too.
Yeah.
I want to have ownership behind my name. It may have been a proud statement at the time when I started thinking about it, but I knew I wanted to own.
Okay. So at that point when you started seeing...
from college,
that's when you're like, okay,
I can actually have money for myself, and no one can take it away from me. Because I think the thing of getting evicted a few times was like, it's not mine, so they can take it freely whenever they want to. So I wanted to have my own, that no one could take it away from me.
Gosh, it's so interesting, because you went through like a very difficult time, obviously the eviction, but you managed to you were so resilient that you wanted to change your life and do something. Sometimes people don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
They kind of just, float.
And that's the thing, I think. One of the things I think that has helped me with property is in terms of your mindset. You have to, like you said, the word resilient, you have to be resilient. Even though what I went through, I know that wasn't normal. I wanted to ensure that my mindset depicted my future rather than what I can tangibly see, which was no money, which was no car, which was no savings. I wanted what I believed to be manifested. And not even to bring it to the Bible, but when it says, as a man thinks, so he is. If you can think that you can get somewhere, the mindset is such an amazing component that if you think it can actually be a reality 100%. If you put the hard work in behind it.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree. So, first property, how did that happen? We go from, someone who's been evicted several times to somebody wanting to get into property to actually getting your first property. How did that happen?
Okay, so from the age of 18, I left the house. I was Miss Big Woman now. I'm in university. I don't need to be at home. So I was running from being in the house that I grew up in. So I went to university, and, they put you in halls. So I was in halls for a while, lived with a few friends throughout my university life, left uni, and then I started working. I think I was earning like 21k, but for me, that was money. I was balling. So I started renting, but this mindset of I need to also own, it didn't leave me. But when you're on 21k, you're renting, you're paying bills, there's no way you're able to save enough money to be able to buy a house. So I had to make the sacrifice of going back home to live with my dad. And at this time, he had remarried. So it's a brand new family, people that I don't actually know. But I knew for me to be able to get to where I want to go, I have to sacrifice something. I either have to make more money, considerably more money, or cut back my expenses. So I decided to do both. I left my rented place, went to go stay in a single room at my dad's place. Thank God he put me up. He didn't have to, but he put me up in that room, and I saved, I stacked. I didn't go out, didn't do anything for 10 months. And I was able to save for 10 months enough money to be able to buy my first place in Dagenham in East London. And within that time, I also got promoted at work. So more money coming in, and expenses dramatically reduced. So that gave me enough money within 10 months to save to buy my first place in Dagenham. And it was for 170k for a 2-bed ground floor flat. And I loved it. It was a flat, and it was absolutely my baby. It was mine. No one can take it from me. And that was my first journey into getting into property.
Yeah. And with that, what were you thinking? Okay, actually, let's rewind.
Go on.
Numbers, right? So,
numbers.
So you funded it with your salary from your work, right? How much deposit did you put down?
So you know what? At that time, it was only 5%.
Okay, so you put 5%.
Yeah, so 5% down. So 5% of 770 grand is 8.5 grand, and then solicitor fees, lawyer fees, valuation fees, and then at the time we had to pay stamp duty too. So all in all, it was about 15 grand.
Okay.
So compared to obviously now, it sounds like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Back then, when you're on hardly anything, it was a lot for me. But that's what I was able to save to be able to get my foot on the ladder, and then get a 95% mortgage. So I think my repayments were like 1,100, which was still a hefty chunk of my salary, which I'm not earning that much, but it was fine. I made it work.
Okay.
Yeah.
1,100.
Because I was on a high interest rates. I know everyone will talk about high interest rates now. The high interest rates have started from back in the day. I think I was on like a 4.79% interest rate, something like that. So, but then again, because if you put down less money, you're going to be in a higher mortgage rate.
Yeah.
So all I could afford was 5%, but as long as I can get a property, that was good with me. I didn't care how much it cost.
Yeah. I mean, people also might be thinking, okay, it's 170k. When did you buy that? So just to give people an understanding of the time.
Sorry, you know, it's so true. I should have said that. 2014.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Because people are going to be like, what
can you get now?
170k like place in Dagenham? You lot are bugging.
Yeah.
We just need to make it clear. It was 11 years ago.
11 years ago. I look young, but I've been in property for a while.
That's amazing. And I guess for that one, right, was that something that you moved into straight away, or was it like
as soon as they were I left at my dad's house, I ran. Yeah. I moved in straight. The first day, give me the key. I'm there with literally me and my handbag.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so it was more of a residential.
That was a residential place for me to live.
Okay.
And I tell that story of my first property because that is how I got into the property investing. So
right. Okay.
Once I got that property in 2014, I got married in 2015. Then got pregnant with twins straight away. So after 18 months of owning that property, I wanted to sell it because I got pregnant with twins. Although we could comfortably fit in the property, I wanted to start my family life in a family home. So we decided to pull it up for sale. So I say me and my husband, and I pull it up for sale, and the property went up £60,000 within 18 months.
Okay.
And I was like, that, for someone who didn't come from a lot of money, that was a lot of money to me.
That's a lot.
60k in 18 months. People don't make that in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So for it to go up that much, I was like, there's something in this property game. And that's when it clicked for me. Property is somewhere where I can put my money and it can work for me. So when I sold that property, I bought a four bed house in Kent, and with the profit, I bought another 2. Okay. 2-bed flat in Manchester, and then a studio flat in Greenhive, and that's where it started. That's where the property investors started by buying that one property, selling it, getting a profit, reinvesting it, and getting 2 more. Okay. So from the one, I got 3.
Okay. Yeah. Your main home, of course.
Main home, and then
able
the other
to invest
2
outside.
Exactly.
What like made you think, you know what, I'm gonna do the whole investing outside of London? You say Manchester and where?
Manchester and Greenhive. So that's still Kent.
Oh yeah, Greenhive is kind of Kent. Yeah. What made you like decide like those areas in particular?
That's what we can afford.
So that's what it was. It was like based on your affordability.
Based on affordability. Based on if I can get 2 properties with that money, why not, rather than getting 1 in London? Okay.
It's smart thinking though. Yeah, it's smart thinking, because a lot of people wouldn't do that. Because I'm trying to understand what the decision making was for you that kind of prompted you to be like, you know what? Because some people, let's tell the truth, right? A lot of people will get that profit and be like, I'm going to put that all on a new home. Yeah. I'm not going to get a residential and then get investment. It's very smart.
It is. You know what? Because I think realizing when we've had friends who go to uni, I stayed in London, so all my experiences is in London, but we have friends who go to Manchester, Sheffield, Liverpool. So when you go to visit them and you ask them how much they're paying, and it's not too far from what they're paying in London. So if I can get a property and get that money for myself, and it's like a few hour drive away from London, why not? Yeah. So that's why we went to Manchester. We had a friend who actually went to uni up there, went to visit him, and it was just like, okay, we can do something here.
That's crazy. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So experiences really did shape what we where we went to.
Yeah. That's important. Okay, so obviously first property, that was like a hit for you.
Yeah.
you managed to flip that into getting into, 3 properties. You ultimately got to 11 properties, right?
Yeah.
Now you've gotten to 11 properties 11 years later. Again, we want to be clear here, guys. 11 years later.
Yeah,
11 properties. It wasn't 11 properties in like 2 years.
No.
Yeah, we're trying to we're trying to share the actual realistic
timeline,
how this actually
100%.
happens, timeline, right?
Yeah.
So, so you did 11 years, the property portfolio is worth 2.1 million. I guess what was kind of the strategies that helped you, build that to that, scale it up to such a height?
When we first started, it was more like just get properties that you can afford and just do the safe things, the vanilla buy-to-lets. Get a property, put a tenant in there and just get the money in. That was it. But the government made some changes in the laws that actually affected people who bought properties in their personal name. So the 2 properties I mentioned, the Manchester and the Greenhive one, we eventually had to sell it because the government changed the laws on taxes and the rest of it. And we knew we wanted to buy another family home and the stamp duty would have absolutely KO'd us because of the 2 properties that we bought in our personal names.
Right, okay.
So because of the law changes and government stuff, we had to sell those 2 properties and start again from scratch and buy all our new properties in our limited company name. So governments and laws and legislation, they definitely do affect property investors because they affect how and where you navigate and where you're looking and how you invest and what you do to invest. And so because of those laws, we had to sell those 2 properties and start again from scratch, buy a family home and then start buying again the property investing through our limited company. Okay. And then that's how we scaled it.
Right.
So we started moving away from flats because service charges started going through the roof and ground rents are fine, but service charges starting to be diabolical. Obviously, with what happened with Grenfell, I totally understand why certain things have to be put in place. But for the investors that wanted solely flats, it didn't make a lot of sense because service charges were just exponentially increasing a lot. So which ate into a lot of our profits.
Yeah.
So we changed our strategy, started looking at houses. Then I'm sure we get on to start looking at HMOs and BRRs and stuff like that. So we had to change our strategy to make our money work better for us.
Yeah. Oh, God. So starting from ground zero, that's so interesting. Okay, so obviously, like you say, changes happened. So it was, because it was in your name, you were saying that you were going to potentially be paying more stamp duty. A lot more
stamp duty, yeah, if we got another family house. So then, so
because you would have flipped your existing one into another investment property.
Exactly. Okay. So, and it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We had to get rid of those properties.
They don't let you transfer that into like a business?
You can, but you have to pay stamp duty on the property that's already yours. If you sell your personal property into limited,
that loophole.
Basically. So it didn't make sense for us.
If we got a bit of time, then it would be good to like speak about the benefits of holding property in a business, because we haven't really covered it on the podcast before.
Okay.
But yeah, if we've got a bit of a time at the end, we can see if we can try and cover that. Okay. Cool. Here's a hard truth. Being a business owner means constantly fighting against the unpredictable. You can send invoices on time, manage your budget like a pro, and still face cash flow problems when a client drags their feet or an unexpected expense hits. But here's the thing. Smart business owners don't just react to problems, they plan for them. That's why I use Tide's Instant Saver account. While you're chasing down that late payment, the rest of your business funds don't have to sit idle. With up to 4.22% AER Variable, no withdrawal fees, instant access, and FSCS protection up to £85,000, every pound keeps working, and you can open an account with just £1. Right now, Tide is offering a £100 bonus to new members from my community who open and fund a Tide Instant Saver with £5,000 in the first 30 days. Just use the code SAVVYWALLET. Plus, for the first 6 months, you can earn up to 4.22% AER Variable on your business savings. Opening an account takes just 3 steps. Tap the link in the episode description, enter the code SAVVYWALLET, and start making your money work harder for you. New Tide members receive up to 4.22% AER Variable. Interest rates are tiered with the top rate for balances over £1 million. New Tide members get these rates free for 6 months. After that, your Tide plans rates apply. For the full offer Ts&Cs, visit tide.co/savings. Rate correct as of the 8th of May, 2025. So, okay, starting from ground zero. So what was the first purchase then in the new business?
In the new one, what did we buy? We got a 3-bed property in Yorkshire. That was it. Yeah, three-bed property in Yorkshire.
That's far.
A lot of my properties are up there.
Hey,
you can make your money work
for you. 4 or 5 hours? I don't even know.
I went there on Wednesday. It was a 4.5 hour drive up there.
Is it? Okay, that's not that bad on the drive. Actually, what am I talking about? That's a work day. Okay, round trip work day.
I was out for 12 hours that day.
Okay,
it was
that's
a lot.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I had to do a visit for an investor, which was really, really productive. But I left the house at 7:30 in the morning and I got back at 8 p.m. at night. So it was like a 12-hour drive.
That's crazy. Okay, so the one in Yorkshire, was that a buy-to-let as well? Did you just do standard buy-to-let?
That one's a standard buy-to-let, but it's a 3-bed house.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we got it for under 100k. So when people say
what are you talking about?
When people say, oh, I just want to be in London, I just want to be in London. London is obviously great for capital appreciation and the rest of it, but there's so much opportunities outside. You can get a 3-bed house for under 100k. That's in good condition, good to go. This isn't BRR. This isn't getting something run down. This is good to go. Tenant. It could be tenanted by next week. And you're getting £800 a month per rent each month. And your mortgage, and because it's an interest-only mortgage, you're paying about £300 on the mortgage. You're collecting £500 per month. That's £6,000 a year. What other investment can you do that you can collect £6,000 a year? I say no investment in property is passive, but the most passive you ever will. Yeah, you're not paying for no bills. If you have good tenants in there, you can do really, really well.
Yeah. So the keys are definitely the good tenants. The tenants, for sure.
Tenants and location.
Yeah, location.
Yeah.
Okay. That's so interesting. So how did you that one? I want to hone in on that one because that's such a good that's a good case study, right? Because obviously you've managed to get something where the buying price is decent, but then you're getting a good return on your money as well. How did you kind of figure out, that? I guess, what was your analysis to be like, okay, this is going to give me a good return on my money?
That's an amazing question, only because I get asked this a lot and the information is out there. It's data. Everything is online. When you, for example, want to look at somewhere to invest in, I always say, look at where the big corporations or the big, the Barrett Homes, Taylor Wimpey's, Redrow, where are they going? Where are those big development companies putting their properties? If they're putting property in certain areas, like, for example, let's talk about Ebbsfleet, that's in Kent. They're putting there's tons of new builds in that area. Why are they going there? Because they know the wage growth in that area is good. Working professionals are in that area. There's footfall. There's companies that are putting their headquarters in that area. So that's where you know that they've already done the hard work and the data and the research for you. Kind of follow where the trends are. Look online. Online, there's always Zoopla, Rightmove. It tells you how much property prices are going for. You can look on the news. Where are regeneration projects happening? There's a lot of talk with the government, because I used to work in procurement before I really got into property. And in procurement, the government have a levelling up agenda. They want to get big corporations out of London and move them to other regions. I worked in a company in the government who were based in London, and after a few months of me being there, they decided to move their head office to Bedford. So everyone had to get up and go to and work in Bedford. They're moving people out of London. Where are they moving people? Where they move people, there's going to be working professionals in the area, people who set up shop with big offices. Go to where the data is telling you people are working and working in those areas. Working professionals,
so that's what you're targeting, working professionals.
That's where you're targeting, because if you want people to be paying their rent on time and you know that they're good for it in terms of referencing, they've got to be working. Where they're going, that's where the data is going to be. That's where you put your properties.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, you're very smart. Clearly, that's why you're successful at this, because you've done your due diligence and you kind of know where, how to do it. Okay, so you started off with a buy-to-let, right?
Buy-to-let, yeah.
How many kind of buy-to-lets out of that 11 did you kind of do for a while?
Again, so I think I've probably bought about 20 properties altogether, but right now I have 11 because I've bought, sold, remortgaged, done X, Y, Z. So I've done bought a lot more than the 11 that's in my current portfolio. Wow. But we do still have a few buy-to-lets because sometimes the opportunity is too good to give up. So I do have buy-to-lets in Bradford, Sheffield, Liverpool. And then the HMOs and the redevelopments, they're in like the Yorkshire area and other areas like that. So
Yeah.
Cool. That's crazy. So then I guess what did you kind of do to scale it up to 11 properties? Was it mostly just refinancing that you were looking at doing? Was you raising money from investors? Was you just saving?
Some of our properties we have raised money from investors.
Okay.
A lot of it is saving. I think when people just want to get into property, they just want to, they have this notion of get rich quick scheme, and property is not. It's a long game, it's a marathon. You have to put the money in and let it work for you. Like if you're getting, for example, like I said before, £500 a month in cash, £500 a month in rent, as in minus your mortgages, minus your maintenance, save the money. You don't have to spend it. Save the money.
You want to live the good life, innit?
Small sacrifice for long-term gain.
Yeah.
I always say that. If, for example, you can save the £6,000 that you got a year, if you save that for 3 years, that's £18,000. Put it in a high interest account. Some there's interest accounts, for example, like Chase. Obviously, there's other providers out there, but Chase will give you 5% on that money. And there's government schemes as well, like the Lifetime ISA, give you £1,000 for free if you put £4,000 in there. There are things that can help you grow your money. So it's not just the rent you get in. There's ways to expedite it by your savings and putting it in the right accounts that can help your money grow and then work better for you. But to answer your question, the thing I think that catapulted me and my husband's property portfolio is when we got a mentor. We were being really safe for the first few years in doing vanilla buy-to-let, stuff that wasn't too risky, didn't really make you sweat too much. But we got a mentor because we knew we needed to kind of upgrade. We knew there was more out there in terms of like HMOs and redevelopment, BRRR. So we got a mentor who really taught us more about the aggressive strategies.
Okay.
And that's kind of what made it grow exponentially and made the money work better for us. So when I say that, I mean BRRR. Getting properties that are severely undervalued, which means a lot of the time they're uninhabitable. If a property is uninhabitable, so no running water, no electricity, no heating, basically someone can't live there.
Yeah.
You can get the property and the only thing is you have to be a cash buyer. Not you have to be. If you are a cash buyer, you are able to negotiate so much better because you can say, I'm cutting out the banks, I'm cutting out the mortgages, I can get this done a lot quicker. I'm a cash buyer. And most sellers are happy to give the property to a cash buyer because they know there's not going to be a survey done that will tell you that there's XYZ in a property. So they're more motivated to sell to you.
Yeah.
From my experience anyway. And when you have a property that's uninhabitable, you don't pay stamp duty.
Yeah.
So that's another saving that you get. You don't
Really?
pay you don't pay stamp duty because they can't charge you stamp duty for a property that no one can live in. So you get an uninhabitable property that you don't pay stamp duty for, that you've already got undervalued because it needs a lot of work. You do it up, you then refinance and get 75% loan to value mortgage. And more times than not, from my experience, from times I've done it, you get all your money back. So an example, I bought a property in Yorkshire for 83k. It was a 3-bed house. We didn't pay any stamp duty because Yorkshire Water shut it down due to drainage issues. They had said that rats had eaten through the floorboards and the water pipes underneath.
That's mad.
And we were able to prove that with a report from Yorkshire Water to HMRC or whatever it is, so we don't pay stamp duty. They quoted that it will cost about 20 to 25k to repair it to be good standard. We said, cool, sure. Bought the property, it cost us £7,000 to fix it. So you're quoting me 25, we fixed it for £7,000. Yorkshire Water came, inspected it, saw that it was absolutely fine. We then refinanced it for 125k. They came and valued it for 125k, got out a 75% loan on that, which is 93,000. So we got back all of our money.
Wow.
The 83 plus the 7, which is 90, we got all that back and then some.
And then
we recycled it and done it again. So we used the same pot of money to buy more properties again and again and again because that money has worked for us multiple times.
Yeah.
That's the way that investors do it.
Okay.
When they say BRRR, they use one pot of money and use that to keep buying more and more properties. That's the way we've been able to scale up our portfolio a lot better.
Wow.
Yeah.
To be fair, I've never had somebody come on the podcast and tell us about the whole not stamp duty for uninhabitable properties and targeting that. Thank you for sharing that. That's a gem. It's a gem. It's a gem. I mean, anybody listening to the podcast that's listened to pretty much all the property episodes will definitely tell you that we've not had, unless maybe I'm forgetting, I definitely don't remember anybody saying on the podcast that, like if it's uninhabitable, you don't pay stamp duty. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So we've got a few properties that we've been able to do that.
That's
with.
crazy.
Yeah.
But doesn't that? Okay, I know that you said you got a mentor, but didn't that kind of scare you? Like, oh my god,
scared,
this
scared
is
the hell out
like
of
wow,
me.
like this house. What if we can't even like get it valued?
Yeah,
like,
let me not lie. It's absolutely not a walk in the park, and it is very scary. And we've had properties that we've had contractors go in and they've actually taken the mick out of us in terms of like we wanted to put new bathrooms in. They say they can do it, go there. They do an absolute shoddy job. So you have to put a lot of trust in contractors and other people who you don't know. And when a property is 4 hours away, you need to have a lot of trust that it's getting done because your eyes are not there. So the reality of property investing is it's not a walk in the park. It's not all glitz and glams. It's not unicorns. There's a lot of back and forth, and things can go wrong at every point, especially when it comes to a BRR project.
How do you deal with those challenges, especially with the contractors? A lot of people do say that contractors are tough.
Let me not even cuss all of them because there are some amazing ones.
No, I'm not trying to cuss them. I'm just saying, how do you deal with that, right? Yeah.
Go and cry to my husband. No, I'm joking. You have to vet them. You have to have at least some eyes and ears that are there. We have a great person we've met that is kind of project manage some of our properties out there because I can't travel every week. So if I've got someone to be there to check that what they're doing, they're actually doing, it's a lot of comfort for us. But I do also make visits down there often because it's my property at the end of the day. And the reality is it is difficult because I've got 3 young kids. I'm a wife. I still have to do my duties at home. It takes a lot of work. Yeah. It can be very overwhelming, but the work has to get done, so you have to just do it.
Yeah, gosh. I can imagine it must be quite tough because a lot of people do say like the contractor is tough, but you said 2 key things there, which is the project manager, you have somebody looking out for you when you're not there, and then the fact that you go as well.
I have to.
This is why you say it's not passive, because a lot of
Absolutely
people think
not.
it's passive. No, you have to do it. It's your property, it's your baby. Only you will care about it as 100%. Nobody's going to care about it as much as you, and it's your money, right? At the end of the day, right? It's 100%. Not somebody else's money. So I think that's very important. I wanted to know, out of all the deals that you've done, right? And we'll talk again, we're going to talk a bit more about how you scaled your property. Which one was like the biggest financially for you, like in terms of like life changing for you?
You know, the first BRR one that we done, when we done it, we got it right. It was just like, this works. We need in my portfolio, I will always have an ongoing BRR project that I'm doing. I will always have one because right now we've got a current project that we have definitely got it uninhabitable again, got it for 100k. It was a 5-bed property that was burnt down by a fire that happened next door, so it's absolutely tattered. There's half a roof, pigeons be flying in and out of there because there's a hole in the sky. It's totally messed up, but we're going to convert that to 3 flats. And that's going to add amazing value to the property and give 3 new people homes to live in. So that is our current BRR project. Once we've done that and we refinance it, we're going to be able to pull out all the money that we've put into it and then just go into it again. Wow. So the very first BRR project is the thing that I think catapulted and made us realize that this is an amazing place to be at. Yeah. And we're going to keep doing it. We're going to obviously buy other HMOs and other things, but BRR, we're always going to have an ongoing project because the money's going to work for us year after year. Okay. So the way your portfolio is kind of working, you obviously got some buy-to-lets. Yeah. You've got some BRR, which we'll talk a little bit more about. We'll deep dive into that in a bit. And then you've got HMOs as well. You said you've got HMOs as well. Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about the HMOs and why you kind of wanted to work on that strategy as well? Again, so after having the mentor, we wanted to do something that's a bit more aggressive, that's not just a standard buy-to-let. With a HMO, it obviously comes with a lot more compliance. You have to do a lot more regulations. You have to make sure you've got emergency lighting, PAT testing, electrical certificate, gas safety certificate, and obviously the HMO license as well. So there's a lot more hoops to jump through. But once you've got it, we've got 4 HMOs and each of them have 5 tenants in there. So that's 5 separate tenancy agreements that you have to deal with.
So wait, is that 20 people? You said 4 HMOs?
So 4 HMOs, 5 people in each. Yeah.
20 people?
In each. They're obviously separate areas.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, so again, so I'm not going to act like I do it all myself. I'm going to be honest. The HMOs, we give it to a property manager.
Okay.
And that property manager, we pay them their 12% fee and they look after it. But with every tenant that leaves and we get a new one in, I make sure I know the credentials of the person. Like what status are they? Are they working? How much do they earn? Because I want to have visibility of who's in my property. With the other buy-to-lets, I manage them all myself. So I do the viewings, I do the referencing, because I want to see my tenants eyeball to know who's in my property.
Yeah.
Not for a pride thing, but I think you, as landlords, you need to build that tenant-landlord relationship.
Yeah.
Having someone in your property and not even knowing who they are, I don't necessarily, that doesn't sit well with me. I can't really do the HMOs because there's like 5 people and it's really, really far.
Yeah, 20,
but I do visit them and make sure they know who I am.
Yeah. Okay, so they know who you are.
They know who I am. They know who I am. But I do have a property manager who manages the day-to-day for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess even with that 12%, right, you're still probably making a profit on
100%.
that. Yeah,
oh, yeah, definitely.
I just wanted to make sure
you're charging per room. So you can charge a lot more per room. But the only thing to say, I think a lot of people don't really say it with HMOs, you're paying the bills. The HMO is great because you charge them per room, which is more than if you would charge the entire dwelling. But as a HMO, you can't be charging them bills when maybe they didn't use it. So you have to take on the brunt of the bills.
Right.
So the water, the council tax, electricity, I'm paying that. And you know, a year or two ago, energy rates went through the roof.
Almost triple, right?
Like, it was absolutely wild. We didn't pass that on to our tenants. So we ate that up.
Okay.
Because we didn't want to charge them too much when everyone's going through a crisis.
Yeah.
So when they say landlords are bad, some of them aren't. Some of them allow these things to happen to make sure their tenants are okay because everyone's going through it. And if we can shoulder the extra burden, why not?
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for highlighting that observation, because actually we've never really discussed from a HMO point of view. You're absolutely right when thinking about it, right? I was a student at one point as well. Yeah. And you're right, like to charge, actually some do, some do, but that is very interesting that you say that you foot the bill, because it does make sense that you would pay the electricity, the internet, stuff like that, because like how do you split
divide it? If someone's working from home, someone's not in the building at all, how do you charge it? You can obviously feed it into the rent, but you're never going to get it accurate.
Yeah.
So
okay. That's interesting. So what would you say, I know you talked about some challenges. What were some of like the main kind of personal obstacles and, even like being a property investor that you had to kind of overcome as well?
Even just things like proximity, like I've mentioned to you, a lot of our properties are really far away. Having eyes and ears on those properties can be difficult. Juggling the motherhood, the parenthood, everything alongside being that is difficult too. When a tenant calls you and says something breaks, you have to trust that actually did break. You're not there to check it. If they say, I need a new window, you can't say no, you don't. You have to get it done. Like I mentioned to you on the way here, my tenant had one of her pipes burst from her under the bath, so the entire ceiling is completely wet. And they're messaging you this at 3 a.m. You have to get something done. So I'm online to my my plumber that I've got in Hull at that time, trying to get them to go to the property. And thank God they got there at 8 a.m. the next morning to service it and get it done. But stuff like that, it can be a lot of work. It can be very taxing because there's people's families in that property. You can't just leave it to the next day. You have to get it done.
Yeah.
You have to look after them.
Yeah,
it's your duty as a landlord to give them a safe, habitable place. So you have to pick up when they ring.
Yeah. Gosh, that must be tough. 3 a.m. in the morning, having to wake up. And this is the realities that a lot of people don't want to kind of face when it comes to being a landlord.
It's not passive. Property is not passive.
Exactly. Can you face? Is an extra, I don't want to say burden, was extra responsibility.
Yeah.
Are you up to that responsibility? People come into property thinking there's no responsibilities.
Nah,
that's it.
True.
Nah,
it's not true.
It's a responsibility because, like you say, people are living there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to be a bad landlord, then you don't care. That's you're conscious, you can deal with that. But if you want to be a good landlord, you have to. You know what I mean?
You have to pick up the phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to pick up the call at 3 a.m. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. Because if they're calling you, there's an issue.
That must be tough.
Yeah, it is.
That must
but
be
then
tough.
that's why I go back to saying, when I meet my tenants and I'm trying to get them into the property, I want to see them eyeball to eyeball. Because you can kind of sometimes tell people's auras when you meet them. There's so much you can say on an application for a property, but when I talk to you and I see you and I meet you, I know the type of person that you are. I know you're not going to call me for no ridiculousness. You're going to call me if there's a real issue, because we've actually got that relationship. And even when it comes to things like late payments, if you've met them and you know the sort of person that's in your property, when they call you and they tell you, I'm really sorry, Juliana, I can't pay the rent, or it's going to be a day or whatever late, it's okay. You know they're not lying, or you can at least check with them, and you've got the ability to message them, to WhatsApp them, to call them, and it's not going to be like, oh, that's a distant person. It's like, oh no, that's Juliana, my landlord, it's okay. There's that relationship has to be built from the foundation.
So you think that's important?
100%. 100%.
What do you think are some of the key factors from your, I'm talking about traits, behaviors that helped, contribute to you building a multi-million property portfolio? Going
back to the beginning, mindset. You have the mindset of wanting better and trying. I've never done property before. A lot of it I've learned on the job and had to stretch myself. I think the mindset of, and not being scared of hard work, I think are really important in the property game. And I'm not going to even act like, oh, this is just me. My husband is very, very involved in the property, and he's missed the strategy. He's the one who, like, when I say data, he absorbs Zoopla, Rightmove, CNBC, the markets, inflation, interest rates, because that stuff really do affect where you should be looking for properties. It's not just, oh, it looks pretty, go and buy it. There's so much macro and economics behind the property. And my husband is very good at strategy. So it's not just me, it's a team effort. So that has helped so much with the property and making sure that we get to a right place and a good place.
Oh, appreciate that, and you're absolutely right. There's a lot of things with property that are required, like you say. Data is super important. And actually, on that point, let's focus on BRRR, because we've mentioned it on the podcast before, and I think a lot of people are quite interested in understanding how it works. So at a holistic level, right? What actually is BRRR?
Buy, refurbish, rent and refinance. So you buy a property undervalued. So say on this particular road, all properties that are 3 beds, they all cost 100 grand. But this particular property, it's in a bad state. You can get it for 75. You know that's undervalued because the ceiling price for that property is 100. So you're getting it undervalued. That's where data comes in. If you know what the property price should be and you know you're getting it for under, you're getting it at a good price. And then obviously there comes to the refurb part. You have to make sure that the refurb doesn't exceed the ceiling price. If you get it for 75 and you're paying 25 on a refurb, that's not a good property to get. You need to get a property that say 75 and your refurb is 10. So you still have that window to make money out of it. So and then you refinance it. You go to the bank, you say, I want to get a mortgage on this property. They give you a 75% loan to value. You pull out all of the money or majority of the money that you've put in. Then you recycle it and do it again. So that's how it works. Okay. And then also you rent out the property as well. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess what's so interesting about that is like you say, you're pulling your money out of it, right? How are you able to kind of figure out, oh, this is a good deal, this is not a good deal? What are you kind of like looking at to kind of tell you that? Aside from obviously what you told us about it being uninhabitable.
You're looking at how much the refurb costs. I think one of the things that people get wrong is estimating the refurb, estimating how much it will cost to get it back to a good state. Because there's no point in getting a property that's severely undervalued, but you're going to be pumping in so much money to get it to a good state. So ensuring that you get a property that is undervalued, but the refurb work, you've estimated it correctly, I think that will really help you determine if this is a good deal or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
the numbers are really, you have to look at the numbers. You have to look at the price you're getting a property at and how much refurb's going to cost. And I think don't be a jack of all trades. If you can't do it, when you go to view a property and you're not sure, go with a builder, go with a decorator, go with someone who has the expertise that you don't have, so they can price up for you and tell you, if you buy this, I think the cost of you getting it to a good state will cost X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Does that work for your budget? Does that work for you? If it doesn't, don't bother.
Yeah. Okay.
But don't try and do it all yourself.
Yeah, so you should definitely try and seek support. Obviously, you mentioned mentor. Definitely try and get like experts. So if you know a builder, a contractor, or something that can actually help you, which is true because they might be able to point out things for you. Maybe
that you
look
can't
at it
see
and just
with
be
your
like,
naked eye or your beginner eye.
Yeah, exactly. I think is important because, like you say, if you're not going to be able to, if you're going to overpay for it, I mean, there's nothing wrong with overpaying, but if your whole intention was to pull the money out and you're actually pulling out a loss,
you're not doing your objective.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it's, so it sounds like the numbers are very important. You can't be casual with it.
Absolutely. You have to crunch it. If you're doing BRR, the objective is to get your money out. You shouldn't overpay on anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh. So I guess what kind of convinced you about BRR? I know that you say that you wanted to try different strategies, but what kind of made you think, okay, you know what, buy-to-let is like, now we don't want to do buy-to-lets anymore. We want to now focus on doing that.
The only way to do better at something you've been doing is to try something new and stretch yourself and push yourself to do something new. There's so much other strategies that are out there. Like you can convert properties, you can convert a 1-bed to a 2-bed. And again, that increases your value. You have to try something new. If you say you're a property investor, property developer, just having buy-to-lets, that doesn't make you a property developer. You have to make something out of nothing and make your money work better for you.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. Me buying all these buy-to-lets are great because I'm housing people, I'm giving them family homes.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to say I know how to make money work for you, I can't say that if I've never done it myself.
You think it's not that difficult to get a buy-to-let? No, obviously save the money.
Say that. I'm so sorry. Let me not say that.
No. Yeah. Sorry, let me not speak for you. Not that it's not difficult. Sorry.
Yeah.
Of course, saving the money, buying that is difficult. Let me just clarify the way I'm saying it because it sounded like I'm saying it lazy. No. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean there is a element of difficulty to that. But if you want to challenge yourself and find value in what. You have to try different things. Sorry, that's what I'm trying to say.
As well, is jumping at the deep end. Even though you've never done it before, if you don't start it and try it, you'll never know if you can succeed in it. So we literally jumped in 2 feet in and was like, we're gonna make this work. And now we've got like 4 BRRRs right now.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's inspirational. And okay, so you've done it for a little bit, right? What would you say are some of the pros and cons? Okay, let's focus on the cons because we've mentioned the pros, but what would you say are some of the cons of BRRR? Definitely
the refurb. So when you obviously price up and you want to do a refurb and you want to make it back to an amazing state, there's so many factors in between that can delay you from not finding out there's damp in a property, from contractors going AWOL, from recently a lot of materials have gone up. So the property I mentioned before that we're redeveloping into 3 flats, we got so many quotes from different contractors on what it will cost, and it just seemed like at that time all of the material prices were going up significantly. So that stuff can eat into what you thought it was going to cost because things just change with Russia, Ukraine, imports coming in. That stuff actually affects property because stuff that you would normally need to buy, it's now twice the price because you've imported it, but now you need to pay extra on it because what the price today was not yesterday's price. So things like the refurb and the contractors and the people you're paying, that stuff you really need to get your numbers right, or that is a huge con and could not let you meet your objective of pulling money out. It's all a numbers game.
Yeah. Okay. So it's
unexpected things and then delays. If, for example, we have a bridging loan for the current property that we're renovating, bridging loans are really high interest loans to help you either develop a project or to buy an auction property, and they're for a set timeline. If it's for 12 months and you don't pay them back in 12 months, the amount they're going to charge you, it's just astronomical.
Really?
Yes, yeah. When you get a bridging loan, it's for a certain time and for a certain amount. You have to make sure you've priced it well enough that the money they're giving you, you're able to complete your project with that money. And also you're able to do it in the right time frame. Because if you don't, you'll see pepper.
Okay, can you give us an idea? Because I've never. What's the idea? You don't need to tell me yours, but like, what's the idea of what would a bridging loan start with? Interest rate, right? You can give me a range, 12%.
About 12%.
And then what could it go up to post that?
I've never not paid on time. So I've never read the small print.
You've never read the small print.
Okay. I know I'm going to do it on time. So I'm not going to answer that question because I don't know what they will charge you if you don't do it on time. But I know it's a lot. If they're charging you 12%, which is what you've agreed, 12% is a lot. Would you pay 12% for a credit card?
No. Well, I mean, yeah. Well, I wouldn't, but some people do. But I wouldn't. Yeah.
But if you know
that you can get away with 0%,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's wow. That's
yeah.
So the bridging loan. So there's a lot of I kind of want to highlight to people there's risk in this,
100%.
and you as investors you're taking risks.
Easy.
Like how are you getting comfortable with taking this risk? Because I'm thinking, wow, bridging loan 12%. If you slip off the date, so there's a lot of risk and reward that you're
1,000. And I think
taking.
as well, online on social media is kind of glorified that it's a get rich quick scheme that anyone can do it. It's really easy. I think you definitely can do it as a beginner if you have the right mentor. If you're doing it by yourself, you will fall into pit holes. You need to make sure that you're doing things sensibly. And that's why I said I've been in this for 10 years, 11 years now. I didn't start doing BRRR. It's taken me 6-7 years to actually get to that stage. I started low risk with buy-to-lets. I went to medium and done HMOs. I'm now doing higher risk now. I'm doing redevelopment projects in BRRR. It doesn't start overnight. And the stuff I have learned have got me to this stage to not make certain mistakes. But I still do make mistakes. Yeah. So that's why people need to really understand their risk appetite when it comes to property. Yeah,
because obviously I know that there's a lot of people. Let me not say a lot, but I know there's people listening right now, getting excited. Yeah, I'm going to get my first BRRR deal, with not knowing it's a high risk strategy, higher risk strategy, right? For somebody who, if you've never dabbled in property, you never run the numbers, you don't even really know what to look for. There's so many moving pieces. Numbers is one. Where are you getting the money? If it's a loan, that's an additional risk because if you don't pay on time, you're going to pay more, right? You got to get your contractors who's watching, and there's so many moving parts. So so risky, but the upside is if you rules execute, are great.
This I'm saying, it's good. And a lot of people, for example, even get properties on auction. Once the gavel hits, that's yours. And a lot of people, they don't even view properties that they buy on auction. It's so risky, and you could run the risk of just eating into all of your money because you didn't take the time to do your due diligence. I think you can 1,000% do auctions, 1,000% BRRs as your first project, but you have to get someone to hold your hand. So a lot of the services I provide to my clients is holding their hand through the process because you've never done it before, and that's absolutely fine. I'll teach you what to do, what to look for, what property to look at, why this is a good deal, why that isn't a good deal, because I've done it. So I'm speaking from experience. I think mentors are really important.
Yeah, it's
mentors
important.
Really important.
It's important. I think for me, looking at that, I'm just thinking through the whole process. I think that would be very daunting for somebody to do that, on their own. Whether you're launching a business, scaling up, or looking for new career opportunities, the Birmingham Black Business Show is back on Saturday the 14th of June. It's one of the biggest events in the UK for black entrepreneurs, professionals and creatives. Expect game-changing insights, powerful panels and free one-to-one business and career advice from the best black entrepreneurs and professionals in the UK. With over 70 speakers, 100 plus black-owned brands and 4,000 plus attendees, this is where practical strategy meets real inspiration, all in one space. You'll hear from keynote speakers like Dame Denise Lewis, Olympic gold medalist and broadcaster, and Timothy Armu, the marketing powerhouse behind Fanbytes, both bringing world-class insight, powerful stories, and real expertise you can learn from. You'll also find tailored experiences for every stage of your journey, from startup to scale up, early career to leadership. Dive into expert-led seminars, workshops, one-to-one advice, powerful networking, and the biggest black-owned shopping experience outside of London. And because I know how valuable this opportunity is for my community, I've teamed up with the Birmingham Black Business Show to give away 60 free tickets. Use my code SAVVYFREE at checkout to claim yours, but hurry, they're going fast. And I guess, what would you say are some of in terms of for a successful BRRR deal, what would you say are some of the critical factors for it to be a success if we were to flip it?
Making sure you get it undervalued. It's just two main things. Getting it undervalued, making sure you estimate and price your refurb correctly. I'm just going to keep saying those. You have to get it undervalued. You have to make sure the price for the refurb doesn't reach the ceiling. So when you refinance, you can get your money back, or at least 90% of it.
Yeah. So those are the main things that you're kind of saying.
There's no point in getting a property that you're paying too much for. You have to get it undervalued.
Yeah.
And that's where your negotiation skills come in, and you're able to talk the talk, because people respect confidence. If they feel like you know what you're talking about, they'll bite your hand off even though you're actually lying or you're blagging. You have to make sure you speak with authority when it comes to these things. Because a lot of the time you'll never speak to the actual seller, you speak to the estate agent. But if they think that you are a somebody, they'll be like, oh yeah, that person, although they may not be giving you the asking price, they'll be able to get the job done. They've got their solicitors in place, they've got this in place, they've done this before because you've told them what you've done, and they're carrying that word to the seller. So and are you like these below market deals? Because I will probably have questions. People thinking, okay, but how do you find a below market deal? Good question.
Yeah, how does somebody find these deals?
Making good relationships is key in this game. I've got so many estate agents that will pass me and my husband deals before they go online, because they know that we're not time wasters. We're not people that if you give them a property, they'll be and ahhing over it for like a month. So we've got a lot of properties that estate agents have, a lot of investors with multiple properties all over the place. If they know there's a property that they want to sell, they will approach us first and say, there's a property that's going to come on the market. These are the credentials. This is the price. This is what they want. Do you want it? We say yes or no, and then that's it. We get it before it even reaches online. And a lot of it is one of our other properties. A few of our properties that we've got, there's a gentleman that we know who's quite old, who has a lot of properties, but knows us that we're good investors. He will always approach us and say, I've got this I want to sell. Do you want it? Before he gives it to an estate agent. So he's now saving on estate agent fees. We're now saving as well, because he always gives it to us undervalued, because he knows we're good for it. Yeah, there's a property that we bought in Kent that should have been, I think it was £250,000. We got it for like 200k or something like that. Because of the relationship. Relationships really, really help.
That's
in
20%.
This game. It's a lot. Even the property that we live in now, we got it at the beginning of COVID. So the sellers of our property that we currently live in now, it's a beautiful property. It's somewhere that the younger me will be so proud of, because it's actually my dream home where we live right now. They assumed property prices would keep going down, because of COVID, down. So they priced it, and we saw it and we took it. We jumped at it. We bit their hand off. Them not realizing that property prices are actually going the other way. So now when we done our remortgage 2 years later, it's gone up in value about 400k after 2 years, because they didn't realize that they were pricing it completely wrong. But we know the area because we live 5 minutes away, and we know what that property is worth.
That's crazy.
So sometimes it's opportunities. I'm going to call it God, but opportunities meeting your preparation and your relationship building.
Wow.
So people need to just be nice to people. When you call up estate agents, they'll be like, well, what properties do you have? No, just be like, oh, what do you have? So they can write your name on their database and call you if anything comes up, because they know you're an investor that is looking for deals. Just be nice.
Just so nice. So it's obviously building relationship, which is important. You're absolutely right. I think when it's like
it's in every field.
Relationships in everything. It's like the unspoken. It's not unspoken rule. It's like the secret market. Let's say, right? It's a secret market, right? Because of course you don't have to sell property. You don't have to sell it through a estate agent. Nobody made that as a rule. It's not some kind of legal rule. If you know somebody, or if you've got a pool of investors that you know are gonna buy property, then what about deal sources and stuff like that? Is that something that...
So deal sources, they work... I do deal sourcing as well. So when I mentioned to you, I was in Hull on Wednesday. I was there for 12 hours because I've got investors that want to buy a BRRR deal, and they know I can do it. So I'm going to source their BRRR deal, and they'll pay me a fee for that. So deal sources. I
think you might be our first deal source on the pod.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think you might be our first deal. So let me ask you a bit about that, because so we did speak on Wednesday about you deal sourcing for somebody. Do you think that you were only able to do that given the background and experience you have, because on the podcast, when we talk about people's entry into property, one route is
deal sourcing or rent to rent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The deal sourcing seems quite tough, because if you are deal sourcing, do you even know what you're looking for?
Do you have the investor? Do you have the property? It's literally you got to have them both at the right time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you have that experience. So do you feel like that's what kind of gave you that edge?
1,000%.
Yeah.
And because I've got obviously the visibility of what I do on socials, it's easier for people to go through your CV or your Instagram stories to see what have you done. Do you back up your word of what you're saying?
Yeah.
And then they can trust what you do and then get you to do it for them.
Wow.
So social media is an amazing place. It's crazy, but it's an amazing place.
Yeah, it is very crazy, but it's an amazing place. Okay, cool. Okay, what about for the people that are listening and they say they want to get to deal sourcing and they don't have the experience? So, right?
So what I would say, mine is a bit different because, like I mentioned, the investors that I have, they want to get a BRR project, but they have 100k cash. So this isn't I want to do deal sourcing and I don't have any money.
Yeah.
Anyone who wants an entry route into property, they can look at deal sourcing and BRR because you don't need much money to get into it. But my one is a little bit different because it's people who have the cash and I've got the connection, so I can marry up the two.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you are new to property, deal sourcing is something that you can definitely do. But like we said before, you need to have the investor list, or you need to know the properties that are on the market and then match them up. If you don't have that, it's quite difficult. So I am all about ownership. I'm not even going to lie and say that I do deal sourcing or rent to rent. A very small part of my portfolio is rent to rent, but I advocate for ownership because God forbid you get a property and the owner changed their mind. That's your stream of income wiped out.
Yeah.
So I'm always about ownership.
Okay.
And the deal source I'm doing for my investors is for them to own it, not for them to do rent to rent or service accommodation. It's for them to own it. So mine is slightly different.
Okay, I get it. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna unpack a few of that because I like a few of the points that you definitely were saying. So deal sourcing, like you say, it's like, having that property list, and then investor list, right? I guess on the property list, for me, I'm not an investor, but I'm thinking, I've had people approach me for different things, and I'll say the people that I'm really impressed with that approach me for things, right, are people who do their research and they can kind of tell me things that
they can add value.
Other people
can't tell you. If you're telling me this how much it costs, I can go on Zoopla for that.
Yeah.
Tell me what it will do for me.
Yeah.
The whole point of doing deal sourcing is that you want to save your investors time. Package the deal up that literally on the first page they can see what the property price is, what their return on their investment is going to be, what the yield is going to be, how quickly you can tenant it, like just things like that. Stuff that they can't see online themselves.
Exactly.
Time saving is
that
all
would be
that
perfect.
they
Imagine
want.
you've got that as an investor.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, cool, and you can choose. That's you going above and beyond as 100%. Someone who has no experience, and then maybe actually you're gaining your experience with, like you say, a mentor, or you're going out there learning. But this is how you have to do things that not everybody is doing for you to
be worth the fee they're going to pay you.
Exactly. For you to stand out, right? 100%. Against somebody they're going to reach out to somebody who's got the experience. The other thing that you said about rent to rent, I really do appreciate that. And sorry, ownership. I do agree. I think ownership is key, and I think it's important to have ownership. And the fact that you were saying that with rent to rent, sometimes that point has been made off that it can be switched off.
But I don't want to knock it because I think for people to get to ownership, they have to have cash flow.
Exactly.
So I recommend people doing it if they don't have the money. So rent to rent and deal sourcing, do it to build up your cash flow, and that will get you to ownership.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
so
don't knock it at all. But don't knock it. Yeah, because I've been there. I am all about ownership now.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like use it. Not even like use it, because you can keep on doing it, but use it as also think about how you can utilize that into ownership, and just don't think that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, think about, okay, how can I own my own? So I've got that coming in forever, right? Like, ultimately, I think that's very, very, very important.
Because when you own property, you get paid twice. It's not just the one time. You get paid twice. You get paid once from capital appreciation by that property going up in value, and second by the rent you're making. So you get paid twice from one property that you've got. When you do, obviously, rent to rent or stuff like that, you just get paid the rental. That's it. You don't take advantage of the capital appreciation or the property going up in value. That's why I'm just like, I'd rather get paid twice than once. So but I get it. It takes time to get the money to own. I understand. So I think using what you've got to increase your cash flow, do it. Do it as much as you can.
Yeah, I don't knock it. I think people should do whatever they can. Legally, of course. I just have to say that.
Put that out there.
Whatever they can. Yeah. But always, like you say, think about the ownership. If you are starting the rent to rent or the deal sourcing and it's giving you nice income, but like you say, like you mentioned, the rental, saving some of the rental so I can go and buy other stuff. It's not like, okay, now I'm a deal sourcer, now I'm a rent to rent. I'm now living life and there's no like plan. There's no exit plan.
That's it.
Right? Like, that's where I think you can kind of get yourself into a bit of an issue, because it's like, oh my God, I've relied on all this thing and I don't really own
this is it.
anything.
And most rent to rents, they're normally about 3 or 5 years. If after that 3 year hits, and if they want to take the property back, what is your plan? Like you said, what do you want to do? If you've got multiple ones, then great, they can replace whatever you're making, but you need to have a plan.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about property strategies for 2025, right? Buy to let. Is that viable property strategy in 2025? Because interest rates are higher. I've been seeing, nobody really talks about that anymore. Buy to let, like, I'm going to get a property to buy to let. I haven't heard that in a while. So what's your thoughts on that?
I honestly think it's still a good viable vehicle. I still have buy-to-lets. I think having a buy-to-let, especially for someone who is a beginner, I think it's absolutely fine. It's the most passive income you will make. Property is not passive, but this is the most passive you will be. You got someone who's living in a property, paying the bills, upkeeping it. Why would you not want to go into it? I understand interest rates are high and mortgage rates are high, but rents are also high. Rents are also increasing. So I understand that mortgage, to repay your mortgage will cost more than it maybe did a few years ago. But the rents have also met that same trajectory and are going up. So I still think getting onto the property ladder is so important. And if you can do it as a buy-to-let, I still think it's something that people should definitely get into. Don't just look and see online people are doing BRRR, HMOs, developments, reconversions. No. Buy-to-lets, I think, is still a great strategy to get into. Get your foot on the ladder. And in a few years, when prices go up, capital appreciation, rents continue to go up, you'll be able to reap that benefit because you got your foot on the ladder. Yeah. So I think buy-to-lets are absolutely fine and absolutely still viable in 2025.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for saying that, because I think that's going against consensus that, because it's, higher interest rates that actually you should, like you say, like you were using before, more aggressive
property strategies.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, buy to let. And sometimes I always like to question these things, just because, yes, interest rates are higher, but that doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity.
100%.
Maybe you just need to be a bit more creative and you need to think about other areas that you can kind of, think about.
Yeah.
Okay. For you personally, right? What's the property strategy that you're thinking about in 2025 for you to build wealth?
As I mentioned before, continue to do my BRRRs.
Okay, so that's the main focus.
100% main focus. I'm going to always have one ongoing in my portfolio. We are actually getting a property abroad as well. So in Ras Al Khaimah, it's like not far from Dubai. They are going to be the first. Is it Emirati? I don't know how you even say this. They're going to be the first country out there that will have a casino. The brand is called Wynn Casino. There's a Wynn Casino in Las Vegas and a lot of America, and they're bringing that now to that area, to UAE. UAE.
Okay.
Yes, UAE. It's not far from Dubai. It's UAE. It'll be the first country, the first place in UAE that will have a casino. That will bring in a lot of footfall, a lot of great numbers into that area.
Okay.
So we have secure the plot that we're buying now, that will hopefully take advantage of this great opportunity. So when I say data, we're looking at things that are coming up that will increase prices. And for the first casino to be in UAE, in that country, we had to grab at that deal.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How did you find out about that?
Look, you keep your ear open.
Nobody's ever spoke about that. Well, like nobody's ever spoke about that on the podcast. Yeah. You're gonna get the people like searching for this.
Yeah, no, have a look. It's called Win Casino. Have a look, guys.
It's so interesting. Yeah. That is so
Ras
cool.
Al Khaimah.
Yeah, is that? Do you think that you're gonna do a lot of that out abroad? Or is it just the one or the two?
No, if the opportunity presents itself, yeah, because obviously buying abroad is a bit different. You have to put a lot more money in.
Okay.
So most like to do a buy to let in UK is 25%. To do it there, you got to put 60% down.
Wait, can you still get a mortgage there though?
So you can, with those countries, you can only get a mortgage once you own at least 40% equity in the property. So you have to pump a lot of money in. It's not easy, but the benefits are amazing. We may not even hold on to it before it completes. It's completing in 2 years. There's another type of market. You said before black market. There's another market of what people do is they get a plot, get a property, continue to pay off the equity, and before it completes, they sell it. Because it's gone up in value so much in the 2 years you've had it, even though it's not completed, and they sell that on to someone who wants a completed plot.
Right, I get it.
And that would go up at least 50%.
That's crazy.
Before you've even got the keys and it's yours.
That's mad.
But that's another strategy that some investors use. They buy properties before it's in the initial phases of development. Before it completes, they sell it on to another person and just take that money and do it again. Wow,
that's crazy. Okay. Yeah. So to buy in UAE, we'll talk about UAE specifically because that's where you did it.
Yeah.
You said, how much did you say you need to put down?
We need to put down 60%.
60%. And where's the other 40 coming from?
So after 60%, then you can get a mortgage.
Oh, there.
You have to have a big stake in the property out there to be able to get a mortgage because you're a foreign investor.
You have to have 60.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money. But then is it more affordable? When I say affordable, I mean relative to here, is it? Or is it?
No, it's the same price. It's still a lot. It's still a lot.
Same price.
But the appreciation is wild.
So that's
we've done the numbers and it works out.
Okay, so is that what you're thinking to do? Sell it, or you're not going to hold on?
We'll see.
Okay, you're seeing what the offer's saying. If it's too good to be true,
if it's too sweet, we'll take it.
To be fair, if it's near a casino,
there's going to be so much.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be
a lot of people going to want to buy just to be near a casino. Exactly. That is absolutely crazy.
So go where people are building. Yeah. I'll go back to my point in the beginning. Yeah. Go back to where people are building.
I really appreciate that. Thanks for sharing that, Juliana. That's a mad gem. And okay, so come back to the UK. So BRRR is going to be like your focus. And BRRR, I guess, with it, a question I had for you, for your building your portfolio, what are you more focused on? Is it like the income potential? Is it the capital appreciation?
It's a bit of both. Because I mentioned we've got properties all over the place. So our property where we live, obviously capital appreciation. The Sheffield and Liverpool, the major cities, capital appreciation is always going to be something that we're going to get regardless. They've got universities, good transport links. They're going to go up in value. And then we've got the properties in Yorkshire that we know we're going to get good rental on. We've got HMOs that are very rarely we have void periods and people move out. So those ones for rental. So it's both, but depending on where the property is, I know what I'm going to get. Yeah. So Yorkshire rental, the other major cities, capital appreciation. Yeah.
I really appreciate the way you think about this stuff. Like it's so structured and analytical when everything's got a purpose, and I think that's what it's about, right? Like you're actually treating it like it's the income and the capital appreciation and the properties. You're kind of treating that like an actual portfolio.
Yeah, it's a business. Yeah, it's a business. Yeah. I don't stop. 24 hours a day.
It doesn't. It's a 24-hour a day business, and I think the reality of that is what it is, right? At the end of the day, for beginners though, what would you say is like? We talked about rent to rent. We talked about deal sourcing. But let's say you had a bit of capital, limited experience. What would you say is like a good route for somebody to kind of their start in property?
It depends on how much you have. It's always about how much capital you have, because you can have 20k and go and buy a 3-bed house up north somewhere, and that could be your first property investment vehicle. Or if you want to stay in London, you could get a studio flat. It really depends on how much money you have, but the location is key. I would say if you're not sure, speak to someone who's been there, speak to a mentor, or just get advice from someone on what should you do to make your money work better for you. But if you are a beginner, I still go down the buy-to-let route.
Yeah. Okay.
To get your feet wet and understand property properly. And if you're low risk, I think the buy-to-let is the best route.
Yeah.
If obviously you're a bit more riskier and you have the ability to have the money and have time, because construction and redevelopments and refurbishments takes time, then you can look at the BRR route or the HMO route if you're even a bit more riskier. But there's not one answer for all. It just depends on the person, how much money they have, and the location they want to go to. Some people are really stuck on London. They don't want to move. I was speaking to a client yesterday who's got about 37 to 39k. She lives in southwest London and she wants to stay in that area. And I'm like, if you want a property and you've only got 30, not only there is a lot of money, 37k, you're not going to get a lot in London. You might be able to get a flat, but you're paying 25% deposit. I don't know what flats in London cost under 200k.
Yeah.
So you have to change your strategy. If you want the money to work for you, London is not the be all and end all. There's so much more out there.
Yeah. I think with London, I'm from London, so I understand the
I get it. I grew up in London too.
Yeah, we get the appeal. You want to be close to it. But I think it's the fear, about north. What if something goes wrong? Oh, I can't be there. So I think there's a little bit of that element.
And I understand.
Of fear.
And I think as well, what people need to understand is there's also things like property managers. You don't have to do it yourself. If you know you can't physically do it, sometimes paying people for the peace of mind, it's needed. Paying someone 10%, 12% to look after your property and report to you how things are going monthly, to make sure they collect your rent for you, to deal with maintenance because you don't want to be called at 3 in the morning. That's okay.
Yeah.
And outside London, Leeds is the next major city that has that's doing amazing for growth. So if your main focus is capital appreciation, you can do that outside London. Leeds is a major hotspot for growth, for capital appreciation, where a lot of big businesses are moving. You need to, again, follow the data, but you can still make money work for you outside London.
Yeah. So why do you feel like, getting into property is great for building wealth in the UK? I want to really understand if it still is.
For building wealth, ownership, it's mine. You can't take it off me. Can't take it off me. And also, even just thinking about children, for generational wealth, to pass something down to them, ensuring that this legacy helps and builds. Money is important, but I think stability is so much more important. God forbid me and my husband pass, the kids have something that will look after them. And because we also have, I spoke about this in another pod, but life insurance, it's important to make sure that my loved ones are looked after if I'm no longer here. So generational 100%. Wealth, absolutely great, but you have to also protect it and make sure the people that come after you have something to say. They looked out for me. When they were here, they had something that I don't have to work for because they've given me a leg up. I mentioned in the beginning of this pod about my upbringing, and I didn't learn about money management. I didn't have anything. I don't want that to be my story for my children. So I'm doing the work now so that will never be their story.
100%. And this is what we love. We love wealth building, man. This is the thing. There's so many different strategies. And this is why I wanted to speak to you about, from property, because I know, again, people want to hear these different ways of how you can build wealth. And your journey is definitely a testament of the fact that you can do it. You can start from humble beginnings and you can kind of do this stuff. So, obviously you've been an property investor and developer for 11 years now. Right? What are the major lessons that you've, picked up from in that time?
Patience, hard work, pivoting. When things don't always work out, you can pivot. It's okay to start again. It's okay to learn something new. It's okay to jump in at the deep end and try something you've never learned before, because you will come out better at the end of it.
Yeah.
And you're not an island. Like, use people with their expertise. I don't do it all. I've got an amazing broker. I've got an amazing solicitor. I've got an amazing accountant. If we're talking about personal names and limited company names, I don't know half of it, but my accountant will tell me the answer for it if I don't know. A mentor, like, just don't do it all by yourself. Like, you don't need to.
A lot of people are suffering in silence when you don't need to, right?
Need to.
You know, even buying a property, right? Like, if you think about buying a property, how many people you get in touch with? You have to have a mortgage. Okay, maybe you don't have to have a mortgage, but it's advised that you get a mortgage broker. It's advised that you get a lawyer. It's advised that you're getting a surveyor. That's already 3 people, right? You adding an estate agent, right? That's 4. So there's a lot of, you know, and then if we talk about, let's say, potentially the bank as well, that's 5. So it's already just for that one transaction. There's a lot of people you're interacting with. So I think you're absolutely right. It's like having that team of
you have to have
people.
a team.
I wanted to hone in on something, right? Property not being a get rich scheme, because I really want to kind of hammer home that, right? So if property is not a get rich scheme, what's the truth about property then? From, you know, you being an investor and developer, give us the actual truth as, you know, your day to day.
The truth is that it's a pillar of wealth. It's not the only pillar of wealth. There are stocks and shares. There's other ways you can grow your money. Property is just one of them. Ask me the question again.
I'll ask you the question.
Yeah.
So what's the truth of property? The fact that you say that it's not a get rich scheme.
The truth is that it's hard work and it takes time. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You have to put the work in to get the benefits out of it. You won't get £100,000 in 6 weeks. It just won't work. You have to put the work in.
That's what people think
They
it will
honestly
be.
people that I speak to, that's like, oh yeah, I want you to help me get a property, but I want to remortgage it and put all my money out in 2 years. I was like, when, how, why, who? It just doesn't work like that. Whatever you've seen online, it's not true. You need to have a minimum of at least 5 years before you even think about remortgaging and pulling money out. It just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't.
A lot of people think they're going to be millionaires in a couple years from property.
It doesn't work like that. If you're a 6-figure income earner and you can give your money to someone to make it work for you better, fine. But if you're not a 6-figure earner, you have to start small. You have to start from somewhere. Rome wasn't built in a day. Neither is your property empire. I'm 11 years in the game, so I'm speaking from experience.
Yeah. It's the truth. It's the truth. I think we just got to I think there's an element of patience that people have to have with a lot of this stuff. A bit of delayed gratification, you know, a bit of, like you say, starting small, having the right mindset, building for a purpose. I think all of these things are important, not just, I want to get rich now, just for the sake of getting rich. Try and really figure out what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do what you're going to do. I think that's what's going to get you to stay the
why
course.
is so important. And I think I know you had Humble Penny on recently. One of the first things they said was that you have to have a goal. Like, if you don't have a goal, you're just kind of doing whatever you want to do as and when. If you're fixed on how you want to do things and why you want to do it, that will set you and keep your mind focused on what your aim is. If you want to get into generational wealth, you want to get into property, you can 1000% do it, but set your goal and stick to it. If that means you not going to Uber Eats every second, you not going on a holiday for a short time, small sacrifice for a long-term gain. I'm going to keep saying that because I know I did it when I went back to move with my dad, and it's got me to where I am now. But that was 10 months of sacrifice, and look where I am now.
A lot of people have not done that.
And I would also always say, so for the younger people listening, if you haven't bought your first home yet, if you have the ability to stay at home, stay at home. Where are you running to pay rent? Why would you want to pay rent? Save as much as you can if you have the ability to stay at home. If you obviously can't, that's absolutely fine. But if you can be at home, you've got a warm bed, you've got somewhere to lay your head at night, save your money and stay at home.
Honestly, I saved decent amount of money living at home. Sometimes I'm honestly, if I didn't have to pay this mortgage, you know how much you're saving?
This is
what are we talking about?
God it's a mortgage, and obviously rent is absolutely fine. Because a lot of people, they actually have their own properties and they rent their own property.
Exactly.
Which is obviously different, but that's because they own it. If you don't own a property yet and you can cut your expenses, please find a way to do it.
Right? Because that's the biggest thing. If
It
you're
is.
able to cut the expenses, right? And when we say this, we're talking about the big ones, not the
big- the
coffee
more-
and
yeah,
avocados,
yeah,
like not that talk.
Avocados.
But like the rent stuff,
Yeah,
if you can
the big
cut that,
stuff.
or even cut that in half, like we say, that half is coming back to you.
This is what I'm
That's how you
saying.
see it, right?
Yeah.
Anything you cut comes back to you to
Yeah.
save, to do whatever you need to do. So it's very important. I know you kind of answered this, but I do want to ask this question so that it really hammers home. What would your message be to the people, should I say, that feel like, property is out of reach for them? Because there is a lot of people, there's a lot of people that feel like, oh, I'm never going to be able to afford a property.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be able to get on a ladder. I do hear that. I do see that.
Definitely feel it.
Even me, like, if I'm being very honest, it was a struggle. Let me be honest. It was hard. You have to fight for it. You have to... Where I wanted to originally live is not where I ended up living. I'm completely happy with where I live, but I had to also be smart with it and be flexible. Be like, oh, okay, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got to just leave it then, right? And go to where you can afford it.
100%. I think,
so.
and really important what you said. I think realizing your non-negotiables. If there's stuff you can change or be flexible with, like your location, then that's absolutely fine. People have this dream of they want to have their dream home now for their first home. No, just get onto the ladder. Get onto the ladder, and by God's grace, you'll see where the benefits take you. If you get a property, it may not be your ideal property. It may be a flat. It may be somewhere smaller, but it's yours. In a few years, that property will go up in value, and you can make that money work better for you. So you don't have to have all the I's dotted and T's crossed now. Just get your foot on the ladder. And we mentioned before about cutting expenses. The other thing that I'm so big on is trying to increase your income. I think everyone has skills in some capacity, and that skill can give you an income. If you like cutting hair, you can do barbering on the side. The amount of businesses that grew when COVID happened because people just had to make things work because they weren't allowed to go out. So there were so many podcasts that were built during COVID. There were so many small businesses that were built because people had to use their skills to do something different. Use your skills to make money work for you. If you're good at maths, start online tutoring. If you're good at music, piano teaching. There's ways you can... There's things that you don't think are that important that people would pay for. I don't like cleaning, but someone else does like cleaning. They can clean your place for you. They can mow your garden. There's things you can do to increase income if you just really focus on what are my skills. So two-prong, cut expenditure, increase income. There's a way that you can get onto the property ladder even if you feel like you're starting from ground zero.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Julian. Thank you so much. I think it's very important for people to sacrifice. I think that's important. Like you say, non-negotiables. But if there are some negotiables, maybe you sacrifice a little bit. For a bit. Like if we liken to what you said, you move back home for 10 months.
Yeah.
So for people who wanted to get on the property ladder, okay, maybe it's not in London. Maybe it's outskirts London. Maybe it's a little bit further.
Yeah.
You can still come see family on the weekend.
Yeah,
maybe it's in
trains.
Milton Keynes. Maybe it's, I don't know, somewhere else, right? That you're able to do. Because, for you, you're seeing that as like your time in the mountain for a few years. You got your money, your property value is going up. Maybe you sell the property, I don't know, maybe you take money out. And then you can come back to London or wherever you live. Let me not even just assume that everybody lives in London, right?
Yeah,
you might be living in Manchester, Birmingham, Newcastle, Scotland, wherever you're listening, right? Whatever, I guess, the message is that if you can't afford where you currently live, it's okay to leave for a little bit. It's okay to go out,
just for a while.
Exactly.
It's okay.
It's okay too. We don't have to be stuck here. Like you say, we're not trees. We can move around. Really appreciate you, Juliana. So where can people find you if they obviously want to reach out and stuff like that?
They can find me on the socials, on Property by Jules. That's my name on TikTok, Instagram. I'm starting a YouTube as well. And I've got a website as well, which is www.propertybyjules.com. So they can find me there.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Like, honestly, listening to this, listen to your journey has been so inspiring.
Thank you.
Especially, the fact that you bounced back from somebody that, like you say, you were a situation where you got evicted several times, went to uni, you went back home to live for... A lot of people wouldn't do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, from an ego perspective, it's like, no, like,
pride.
What? What? I'm not going to live back home. Who do you think I am, kind of thing. And the fact that you kind of did that...
I'm not gonna lie, that was me. That was me.
That'll be most of us.
Yeah.
That'll be course. That's like me.
It wasn't an easy decision.
Yeah, that's like me saying I'll go move back home now.
This is you're big man and married. You're going to go back home.
Exactly.
And people do it. And people do it. Even with kids as well, they do it. But small sacrifice for long-term gain.
Look, if it has to be done, it has to be done, right? Like, that's how you have to see it. Yeah. Like, I think you have to see it as like, what would I rather? If I had to do that, and then the choice on the other end is that, okay, I'm going to
the same position,
dream home, whatever it is, and that's the small sacrifice, I'm going to do it. That's how you have to see it. 100%. That's the choice, right?
You know, in this generation right now, a lot of it is, I want it now. Without the work. I think some people, they are scared of hard work.
Yeah.
Because what you see online is people's highlights. You don't see all of their work and all of the hard sacrifice they go through. But if you're only seeing the highlights, you think that you should be able to do that too. And it's just not that simple. People are scared of hard work now. They're scared of failing. But if you don't try, you never know if you'll get there.
I agree. You have to work hard. You have to fail. Not that it's a guarantee that you succeed.
But you will learn something through that journey.
Exactly. And you're more likely to succeed because you did those things, because you got a work ethic, etc. Really appreciate you. Yeah, it was such an inspiring journey. And the fact that you've got to a place where you've got a multi-million portfolio and 11 proproperties, and now like you're investing in UAE, like I'm going to look at that after. Thanks for the gem. No, that was a gem. I look at that. That was a gem. Thank you so much. Do you have any final words for the watchers and listeners?
Final words. You can do it. If you're not in property, you can definitely do it. If I did it, trust me, you can do it too. If you need any support, reach out to me. I'm happy to help. If you're an investor and you also want some help to scale your portfolio, I am able to help. But in everything, just know that if you can think it, it can be a reality. So just continue to think. Don't dull your mindset. Continue to have a strong mindset and be diligent in the things that you know you can do, and you will 100% get it.
Thank you so much, Juliana. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the podcast, and see you next week's episode. If you like this episode, leave a review, tap, like, or subscribe to the channel. Your support is appreciated. We'll keep working hard to bring you more valuable episodes.